The US and China can't get along even if the planet's future is at stake. In July, the Chinese city of Zhengzhou was devastated by flooding that killed subway passengers and motorists unable to escape from underground tunnels. And just last week, flooding stretched across the United States East Coast, drowning a family of 3 in their submerged apartment and sweeping 2 young adults into a storm drain. On Friday, US Climate Envoy John Kerry wrapped up several days of meetings with his Chinese counterpart Xi Zhengzhou and Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Tianjin. American climate officials had attempted to separate talks from the broader bilateral relationship, hoping to avoid the type of antagonism that has typified recent attempts at US-China dialogue. Kerry's senior advisor, Jonathan Pershing, told US lawmakers in July that climate talks had so far avoided sensitive topics, such as reports that solar panels in China were built with forced labor by the Uyghur ethnic minority, which China has repeatedly denied. Climate and human rights abuses are things we distinguish, and we can separate out, Pershing said at the time. But the message this time from Wang, the foreign minister, was, no, you can't. China-US climate change cooperation cannot be separated from the overall environment of China-US relations, Wang told Kerry, according to a statement by the Chinese Foreign Ministry on September 1. Wang's comments reflect widespread discontent in Beijing toward what state media has repeatedly framed as American hypocrisy. Many in Beijing accuse the US of failing to make significant progress on climate change, pointing to promised climate legislation during the Obama administration that never materialized, and the Trump administration's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accords. I think the grievance here, from China, is that the US is not doing enough domestically, and wants to point its finger toward Beijing, said Li Shuo, a policy advisor for Greenpeace China, adding that any clear-eyed person could see there is a big gap between what the US is preaching and what it is doing. This type of resentment is reflected online, with users and news outlets largely ignoring Tianjin talks and giving US efforts the cold shoulder. The few comments made online were negative. If one wants to reach an agreement with China on climate change, the two sides should be on an equal footing, and you should be honest with each other, said one post on the heavily censored social media platform Weibo. There is no need for you to unilaterally impose what China must do. Another Weibo user commented, please put out the fires in California first. America always talks big but can't even take care of its wildfire. What is there to discuss for climate change? You keep on hearing this rhetoric from saying China will deliver 100% what we promised, Lee said. It is the other side of the coin. They are trying to tell you that the US is not delivering what they promised. The other side does not carry a lot of credibility. Kerry had hoped to use his trip to help convince China to abandon coal as a power source. China is the world's largest producer and consumer of coal, far outstripping the US, India and Australia. China is also the world's top emitter of greenhouse gases, making up 27% of global emissions in 2019. The US, meanwhile, is second at 11% of global emissions. China has pledged to achieve net zero emissions by 2060 and is aiming to peak its emissions before 2030. China's rhetoric about alleged American duplicity, and about climate being inseparable from broader bilateral relations, is not new. Wang, the foreign minister, said similar things earlier this year, including before Kerry's last visit to Shanghai in April. Though the door for cooperation is still open, the lack of an outcome is definitely not good news for the planet, Lee said. The best-case scenario had been for the two countries to sign an agreement that could help pave the way for a pivotal United Nations climate conference in the Scottish city of Glasgow in November. Now, the conference faces a much more difficult process. When we look at climate change, it is not just a geopolitical issue, it's an environmental and scientific matter, Lee said, adding that the two countries need to find a way to set aside politics and row in the same direction. There's only so much we can pump into the atmosphere, and if we don't act fast enough, there probably won't be any oasis in the world, or in US-China relations. It'll all turn to dessert sooner or later.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.